Speaker, in the short time I've gotten to know him, I consider him a brother. Brendan Aronson. He served as a U.S. Marine infantry officer, and his fun fact is he used to be a member of the Naval Academy skydiving team. So please welcome Brendan.
Okay. All right, good evening. My name is Brendan. Welcome to my stretch experience. So I decided to join the military because I wanted to have great stories. That's right, I did it for the gram. Some of those stories are funny, others of them are sad. But today I'm going to stick with the theme of through thick and thin and tell you a story about my dad. So let's rewind to when I was 13 years old. I was out to lunch with my father, and I said, "Dad, I think I want to join the Army." To which he replied, "Jews don't join the military." Before pressing on with whatever we were talking about. It's a true story. My father was very involved in my upbringing, and one of his best qualities was that he used to take our hobbies and make them his own. So after binge watching Bloodsport, Kickboxer, and really any kind of Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, my brothers decided that they wanted to become professional karate fighters or something. My dad enrolled them at Joe Palonzo's Kenpo Karate, which was the best karate place in the Jewish suburb of Baltimore. Whereas most people would have dropped their kids off and then came back to get them, my dad enrolled himself. My brothers and I washed out. I think I was like a purple belt or blue belt or something. My dad ended up as a black belt. And again, he just had this ability to take our hobbies and make them his own to be involved in our lives. So as I got older, I got more serious about joining the military. My dad decided to study the topic. We don't exactly have a proud military tradition in my family, which is to say that my grandfather's the only one that served. He saw some of the most intense potato peeling of World War II. But my dad eventually had a 180-degree change of heart, and to support me, he signed us up for mock reception day at West Point. So, woo! I don't know if I said it right. But in contrast to what I picture happening at your liberal arts schools where you sit in a bongo drum circle and drink kombucha, at West Point you have 90 seconds to say goodbye to your family, and then they shave your head and you run around with like a bag that they fill up with like everything, like life supplies, like a computer, books, clothing, that kind of stuff. The bag just gets heavier and bigger. So this is a pretty physical event. It was like hot as shit in West Point that summer. And my dad was in great shape. He used to run 5 or 6 miles every day. But unfortunately, he would counteract that by eating an entire pint of Haagen-Dazs ice cream in the evenings, every night. So he had a little bit of a belly, and the Aronson men also sweat, so you have that to look forward to later in this speech. But in later years, he would tell a story of how miserable he was, but how happy I was to be there. And the takeaway is that my dad, again, he supported me, and he was a support structure that I needed. He was willing to endure physical hardships as like a 50-year-old man in order to be there for me. And so my senior year of high school, practicing for future business school student, I pivoted. It sounded better in my head. But, so I pivoted. I wanted to become a Marine, so I wanted to go to the better academy. I wanted to go to the Naval Academy. In order to become a Marine. So for those that don't know what a Marine is, Eleanor Roosevelt actually summed it up best, so I'll just quote her. She said, "The Marines I have seen around the world have the cleanest bodies, the filthiest minds, the highest morale, and the lowest morals of any group of animals I have ever seen." Thank God for the United States Marine Corps. I'm not sure how Eleanor Roosevelt became acquainted with these Marines' clean bodies and filthy minds. But I'll leave that to the history books. So before becoming a Marine, though, I had to finish freshman year at the academy, and basically I was completely overwhelmed with academics, a varsity sport, which I was terrible at, and those weird military rituals that Alec talked about earlier. And I called my dad and I told him, I don't think I'm gonna make it here. He told me to bury myself in my work and maintain a stoic attitude, and I could get through it. And that's exactly what I did. I ended up graduating from the academy, and that advice really stuck with me throughout the years. Over the next 6 years as a Marine, I deployed to Asia, completed a lot of training in the United States and abroad, and I would always call my dad to check in on him every week. So we would talk pretty much every week. And then in 2016, I went to Iraq for 9 months. We had limited connectivity by phone, so it was difficult to stay in touch, and you had to carve out time to keep those relationships going, because we worked for every day consecutively all the way through. So again, it was just a real effort to stay connected. But the day that I returned home, I met my wife, who's out in the crowd. I met my wife and my dad and my brother, and they gave me a big hug, and it was one of the happiest days of my life. So every week when I came home, I would call my dad, every Sunday. We would talk for 1 to 2 hours a day. We would debate public policy, and he felt that it was his job to shape, mold, and influence me. These talks always started out the same way. My dad would say, I just cooked breakfast, but I can talk. He would then talk at me for 1 to 2 hours while I muted my microphone and cleaned the entire house. The man had the gift of gab. 1 to 2 hours later, the conversation would inevitably conclude with, I'm gonna eat now, I'm fucking starving. For him, imparting wisdom on me was more important than eating. And I wish that the story ended there. In September, my dad had a stroke and bit his tongue. And what should have been a straightforward medical procedure resulted in a botched intubation and a hypoxic brain injury, which robbed my father of his consciousness. In the military, we would call this a shitty situation. Sorry, temporarily. So the family and friends gathered around to say goodbye. And when you're removed from life support, you change the patient out of their hospital gown and into their own clothing in order to make them feel more comfortable and so that the family can feel more comfortable. And so my brothers and I went to his house and rooted around in his closet. And every single shirt that he owned was either a United States Naval Academy shirt or a Marine Corps shirt. And so I like to think that he supported my goals until the very end of his life. So why did I tell you this story? I think, or at least I hope, that it can serve as a reminder to stay in touch with the people that have gotten you this far, and the people that you care about, the people that are important to you. Make that time to talk to them. And then second, I just wanted you to know about a great man who I loved, and who was always with me through thick and thin. Thanks.